Yayo, my sovereigns, what up? This is Boba Fett, uncensored on the internet, with episode 148 of Splinterlands 101. Joining us once again, co-hosts of the show, finest gentlemen who have lived, Matt Clark.
Howdy, howdy.
The man behind the Pouffet Poussey, Geotrix.
Hello, it is me.
And we have a guest on the show, as you've already figured out if you're watching this rather than listening to this. We'd like to welcome to the show. I don't think there's anyone who would be watching Splinterlands content who would not know this man. Welcome to the show, Claiborne.
Oi.
Ozzy.
Okay, most people don't know this about me, but like I'm actually an honorary Aussie. I'm the official team hugger. I never got fired, so I assume I'm still the team hugger.
And tell us that story.
So back in the day, in the PAL Discord server, I think before like Team Oz got their own, or like before it really got like took off. We used to have like all the Aussies would like hang out there. Like that's how I got to meet like Ozbit and like True Girl and Matt Clark and everybody. Hey, you used to be there too. And,
yeah, I was there back then. Yeah, still am
I
actually, but I use our own server now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of Aussies used to hang out there, and like I was the guy that would always do the hug bot on everybody. So
Right.
they made me the official team hugger.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Well,
the,
they
when we
never
went
took the
to-
title away.
When we went to the Christmas party that Ali Bear One put on in 2018, Chugil and I and a few others stayed in a Airbnb, and so we had a couple of days together. And I hugged her, and she said that was almost as good as a Claiborne hug. So definitely honorary Aussie hugging champion, and that title is undisputed.
Yeah. I got to hang out with True Girl when she came to New Orleans. God, man, it's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's been like so long, but like we've been a part of what like the Steam Hive community for like 8 years now. Is like it's crazy. Like it really is. It doesn't feel like such a large portion of my life has like revolved around like this platform and community. To some extent or another, even before Splinterlands existed. So it's definitely interesting, man. Like I run into people sometimes, and I'm just like, holy crap. Like it's amazing the amount of people that like kind of like come and go and then come again, and yeah, it's a lot, but man, it's awesome. Like I can say I think I've met all of my actual like real life friends through Steam and Hive at this point.
Found your tribe, huh?
Yeah. I recently.
like one of my best friends is actually an Aussie. He lives in Sydney, but he doesn't really hang around the community anymore. But like I don't know if you guys remember Cope. Like we used to do like we used to do like a philosophy, like kind of like this, like where like we would talk for like 2 or 3 hours like every Saturday night, and like that was kind of like
That was the
at some
cafe or
point-
coffee philosophy or something?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
trippy when
still-
I've got this mentality that like I had this long time holding Bitcoin, and then I found Steam only a few years ago, and then I moved on to Splinterlands. But in my mind, I held Bitcoin for like 15 years, and it's only been 2 years that I've been in Splinterlands. But it's very much the other way around. It was really only 3 or 4 years that I was actually holding my original Bitcoin, and then moved across into Steam. And then Splinterlands has been really my longest as far as duration goes, actual bags that I've held. I got a 9-year-old daughter who does not remember a time when I wasn't playing Splinterlands every day.
Growing up with the flesh golem horde.
Yeah, it all feels so new and recent to us because we're a lot older. But to her, it's just like, yeah, that's just the thing Dad's done my entire life. It's pretty crazy.
She's the only
don't
one
worry,
in her class who knows what a flesh golem is.
Yeah, you're gonna be Grandpa Matt one day, and she's gonna be telling the grandkids about back when Grandpa bought his first flesh golem. Like that's what paid for our island out here.
or actually, I don't know if you've ever seen the clips or what's it, Ocean Builders, is it, Matt?
Yeah, oceanbuilders.com.
Yeah. Have you seen that one
Yeah,
before?
yeah. We were actually talking about it the other day. Like one of the things that like I've always thought would be really really amazing personally is like you know how like Sealand did it, right? Like they took over like one of those old platforms, so like now they're basically like their own little country. And I think it would be like really, really freaking awesome to like get like an oil platform or something, you know, just like basically have like a group that just kind of, well, I don't know. I think when you say like take over an oil platform, like it has negative connotations, but I mean like buy, maybe like buy a,
Arr!
SWAT team
like,
helicopters, they fly
yeah,
in and drop down.
What
yeah,
about
but I mean
squatters'
like
rights? Are
get
there
a
any
group.
abandoned around? We could just set up squatter rights on an oil platform.
I don't know, man, but that would be pretty wild. Like Sealand, like the way they did it is actually, they have, they weren't oil platforms. It was like basically the British army built these big like offshore platforms. I want to say like was it? I think it was like during World War II, and like the whole thing is like that. I think they were out there to like watch for U-boats, and then they ended up using them for like pirate radio for a while. I think, and then like at some point, like the Sealand guys like took it over and made them like a little sovereign country because technically it's like right outside of I think it's like right outside of British waters or something like that. Yeah, that's it. It's
Yeah.
like these like you can actually like they
Is
have some
that?
like videos where they do tours of it where like you can go down in like the big cylinders or like I don't know like it doesn't look like it's the most like hospitable living conditions, but the thing on top is like, you know, it's just basically like a house up there. But like inside, I think they have like storage and crap. But yeah, like ever since I saw that, like I've been fascinated by the idea of like one day like going find like a spot that like no government controls and like, you know, I can just live my life without feeling like I'm subjugated on some level.
Yeah, there's been heaps of attempts over the years. You could spend a year researching them all, and they all have different reasons for failing or not working. You're generally related not to the people involved, but to external influences. There was I was really excited because in 2008, my wife and I went on our honeymoon on a cruise ship called the Pacific Dawn, and then at the start of the COVID silliness, they decided to scrap it. And they were going to just scrap it because the ass fell out of the industry, and these things are really really expensive. 17-story cruise ship, really expensive to maintain, and so the Ocean Builders guys or people affiliated with them, Chad and Nadia Elwatowski, I believe, were pivotal in that. Actually, bought the ship for I think only $4 or $5 million from the P&O anyway, whoever owned it, and sailed it across to Panama to actually turn it into the start of a floating city to say, hey, look, we're going to have this city. What actually ended up killing the plan was insurance. So you need to pay absolutely through the nose to insure a cruise ship. You don't need to pay through the nose to insure a floating city, but there was no designation for a floating city, and so there was all sorts of different possibilities where they said if you pull out the engines so it's never able to move, then it becomes this classification, but if you don't, then it's this classification. Like there's insurance companies that their categories, right? And they just want to tick a box. Which box do I tick for this vessel? You can't operate without insurance because then you have bad actors come and arrive and pretend to be genuine participants, and then they slip, and then they sue, and then where's your insurance and all of that. So you've got to sort of allow for that the fact that there's going to be people doing the wrong thing there. And so the long and the short of it was they ended up having to scrap it anyway. So I think they ended up making quite a bit of a loss on the entire venture because they thought, hey, if we own our own cruise ship and it's out in international waters, then we can just live there. We'll sell off individual cabins that people can actually own a cabin on this cruise ship, and then details to follow. The sales weren't fantastic of the cabins, but the insurance would have been enough that it was just dead in the water. The ongoing cost would have been. So that's why that video that I linked to when we were chatting the other day, Clay, has Joe Quirk talking about flagging registries and getting a categorization for a seastead that is a self-contained seastead. That's not a boat, it's not a caravan, it's not a houseboat, it's not what so there's a box that they can tick, and a way of getting them flagged as seasteads. And there's limitations. They can't be above 40 gross tons. They can't be, but if the vessel ticks all of these boxes, then it can actually qualify as a seastead, and then we can do this thing. And then you just put 1,000 of them out the water, and then you have a city, rather than saying here's this one vessel, which doesn't satisfy a lot of the existing legacy requirements. So it's exciting times to see them hitting the water. I'd like to see them just 3D printed over the water and then just dropped in, and then the 3D printer starts another one, drop it in, starts another one, and just mass producing these things on coastlines all around the world. It would make me really happy.
You want to go like full Dubai style, huh? Where you just you just build your own islands.
Yeah, well, islands exist in a place, right? So then the government could just say, right, well, I'm just extending the boundaries of our country. What are you going to do about it, right? But if it's something that can just be towed away, well, then they can't do that anymore. So things that are stable, solid, anchored to the ground, even if they're 12 miles offshore, they can just be reassigned as part of this country now because they're in charge. So we really need something that is technically mobile but can be anchored to the seafloor, but also can be repositioned if need be. Then all the leverage is gone, right? Then countries are doing what they can to be appealing neighbours rather than onerous neighbours. We want countries competing with the privilege of having a seasteading city 12 miles offshore rather than scaring us off.
If you're going to operate something outside of the whole government nation scam, like, why do you need insurance in the first place? Like, enter at own risk. You slip and break a leg, well, that's your fault.
It's all maritime law, so you need to be flagged. Every vessel on the ocean needs to be flagged. Otherwise, it's booty, basically. Anyone can just seize it. So if you're floating off the coast of Panama and you're not flagged, your vessel's not flagged, it's not registered, it's not with all the maritime authorities, then the US Navy could just come and take it, and they'd be completely in the right to do so because you're essentially salvageable scrap floating on the ocean. You're not owned by anyone, so you're just up for grabs for anyone.
Right. So this comes back to ownership.
I got it. We go to Somalia.
Right. Yeah, so you've got to be flagged somewhere. And so if somebody trips and falls on your vessel and you're flagged in Somalia, Swaziland, Australia, then they would sue you under Australian law or wherever you're flagged. And if you're not flagged, then so that's why seasteading, they've started different physical projects, but it turns out that a big part of it is getting the paperwork lined up so that we can actually do this experiment and be flagged and be official and be insured, and then escape that way. So there's smarter minds than I have spent a lot of time on this. It's great to see it coming along, and there's so much appetite for it though, Clay. Like you scratch under the surface and there are so many people who would love to do that, particularly in Australia. I don't know if if the news has filtered through, but Albo PM has decided that everyone under 16 can't have social media anymore. 16 is the minimum age to go Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, I guess, Reddit, Quora, I don't know, all of that stuff. He hasn't come out with a list, but he just said it yesterday. That's what we're going to do. Well, good luck. I mean,
how do you enforce it? You can't.
No, that's the thing. So, a lot of people are saying the whole point is that it's not about kids; it's about digital ID. So, giving everybody a digital ID. Whenever you log onto the internet, you need to put in your digital ID, and then you're responsible for every word that's said on your account. So it ties in with the misinformation, disinformation bill, where they're
and start with the children. We're saving the children.
Yeah, we're saving the kids. Yeah, it's got nothing. It's, and I'm just so. It's just got ugly and dumb recently, and this is just in the afterglow of Trump's sort of freedom-loving. Everybody's excited because there's a breath of fresh air, and then everybody's like, wait, you guys, you can't enjoy this. You're in Australia, so here's the new rules for you guys." And nobody likes it, but there we are.
Dude, I gotta say, man, like one thing that like, so now that I'm outside of the U.S., like I'll get on YouTube and it's like I'm still bombarded with U.S. politics, but what blows my mind is like, so I know about Murdoch and how like he basically like exported the current like 24/7 news cycle outside of Oz, but Like what blows my mind is Sky News Australia. Dude, like what is going on in Australia where you guys have literally nothing to do but talk about owning the libs like on your like your news station? Like, dude, every day like I'm getting new videos popping up talking about the libs are having a meltdown over this, or like it's like gotta be the most right wing news that like I've ever seen, and it's like all about US politics, but it's in Australia news. Like what?
Because we got nothing good going on here, nothing exciting, right? So they take sources from everywhere else to call it a news station when we don't really need media here. I mean, there's nothing that's going on outside of the bullshit which they hide anyway and don't show us. But yeah, so
Yeah.
it's easier to report on
The
other.
the emus the emus aren't rising up again.
The
Yeah,
Emu
there's
Wars.
always an
Yeah.
animal. There's always animal segment on the news, like 30 minutes of it. It's like the zoo or like this new penguin at the zoo. I mean, it's lovely. Don't get me wrong, but yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I'm telling you, if you guys like if the emus ever rise up again, dude, just call me. I'm a crack shot. Like I'm coming. Okay, like I got your back. Well, we're not gonna lose to the emus this time.
Not this time.
All of the media in
Uh,
Australia, with all of the TV channels, all of the newspapers, there's like 3 or 4 major newspapers in every state, but all of them are owned basically by 2 families, the Murdochs and the
Yeah.
Packers. That's it.
And they all receive funding by who? The people. Good old taxpayer money, keeping them. Oh, we need more.
Hey, it's the same shit in the U.S., man. Like that's the that like honestly, like I don't want to like really get on a side because I think the whole thing is kind of like a puppet show. But
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like we're now seeing like Trump is calling for one of the broadcast stations to lose their license, and I think a lot of people in the U.S. don't really like fully understand just like how ingrained the government is with broadcast news. Like the whole 24-hour news cycle. I think it's something like 80+% of the news basically has to be like on script, like whatever the government's like trying to like push their agenda. And then like the rest of the time they can talk about whatever. But it's like they get so much funding from the government. And then like if you I don't know, man, like I feel like anybody that can step back and not be like so polarized by like the left right divide, like it's very easy to just look at the situation and see that like it's literally propaganda where they're just trying to pit 2 sides against each other and keep people divided. And man, like it's baffling to me that like so many like smart people out there, maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's like the smarter you are, the more like you feel like you have to be right on this issue. Like I feel like it's a broken game, and the only
Plays
way
into
to
the
win
ego.
is to not play. Like
Yeah, that's part of the trap, though. So the smarter you are, the longer you stay in school getting educated, right? So
ugh.
the dumb kids, they'll drop out in year 10 and they're only 15 and they go off and live their life, but they've got no confidence that they understand the world, right? And they generally have instincts that are better than a lot of what other people have. Then you get others, they finish high school, they go on to college, and they get educated and they get qualified but what happens is that entire process is all about planting knowledge and then concreting it over so that nothing can get in there, right? Just embedding it and keeping them in school until they're so sick of learning that they're just not willing to revisit any of the things that they've already learned. And that's why you get so many smart people with dumb ideas, is because the system is set up to keep the smart people in long enough that you seal that deal and you keep them for life.
Because when you're
man,
an expert in your field, you know everything there is to know, right?
Yeah, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we want to go here, but man, like in the U.S., they basically they have it set up to where most people that are like actually, like what they consider like higher intelligence, they basically like trap themselves in debt going to these public indoctrination camps is what I call them. But like I had to go get the piece of paper. But it's just like it's fascinating to me that like if you kind of like step back from the system and just kind of like look at how it all operates, it's very much like I consider it like almost like debt trap diplomacy, but like on a civilian scale. It's like the entire system is built around getting people enslaved, in my opinion, and like people. I don't normally get into like all of this stuff a lot because people kind of get like you upset whenever you start talking about it. But I mean, like, it just is what it is. Like, if you could see the system for what it is and understand that like the whole thing is basically built around extracting value from human beings, and like I'll tell you guys, like my goal. Like my entire goal is like if I get wealthy enough like off of crypto, like I'm literally going to build the compound. Like I'm just like I'm going build my own like little sustainable like off grid place. Just maybe I'll have like satellite internet or something. Maybe I'll keep in touch and keep I really like what I'm doing. Like that's one of the things that like that's one of the reasons why like I wanted to do this. Like I mean it's definitely not like the most joyful job at all times, but I feel like it's important and it's like something that like I'm actually passionate about. But yeah, man, like it's crazy, dude. I just like operating inside of the system, going to the the corporate grind. It's just so soul sucking, man. Like I used to work in healthcare, and I worked at a hospital, and man, like the shit you learn about the healthcare industry working in a hospital is just it's brutal, man. Especially in the U.S. where it's very much like a for-profit system. Like a lot of things, people don't like to hear some of the stuff that like I'll say about it, but like, I was actually working in a pediatric clinic, man, and like in the U.S., the doctors they lose like a third of their income if they don't force vaccinations on children, like basically as soon as they're born. And I mean, it's to the point where I think they have to have something like a 93% plus rate of vaccination. And, if like parents have like any hesitancy or anything like that, or if they don't want to, you know, like there's a lot of parents these days that are kind of like getting scared, because like they're seeing a lot more research and stuff come out, and there's a lot of people that are linking like autism to vaccination in children, and like that's something that like I would have to deal with working in a clinic. And yeah, man, it's pretty crazy, but like the doctors, like they will literally kick the kids out of the clinics. I where I was working, and I don't know, like I said, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole we want to go on this stuff, but like man, they would straight up like refuse to see like basically like refuse to see children if their parents didn't fill out the Medicaid paperwork.
Yep.
Yeah, like whenever it got to the point where I was just like I can't do this anymore. Like basically like they had a baby, like I think it was like a 3-day old baby just die in the waiting room because the doctor wouldn't see them because they were like, you got to go fill out this paperwork, and like the mom's like, what do you want me to do? And yeah, so like they didn't tell them to go to the ER or anything. It's just stuff like that, man. It's like so soul sucking whenever operating in a system that values money over people. And that's one of the things that like I try to always be mindful of. Like even right now we're dealing with the soul keep situation, right? Like in my mind, like the thing that like I'm worried about here is like how the situation can hurt the people that like bought packs, and the people that are like legitimately playing the game. But then like I'm also like hired to protect the interest of SPS token, the SPS DAO. So it's like I see it both ways, and it looks like we're voting it out now. But I mean, I think the outcome is pretty much writings on the wall. But yeah, just it is what it is. I think that's at the end of the day, it's really all we can do is just try to do what we feel is right and what we feel is best, and try to
I think
do
it's
the
a
quote unquote right thing.
I think it's a fairly common story. People have enough experience or interaction with the government to realize that it's broken, and then we look for an avenue where we can help to either some people try to improve it and some people try to end it, which is certainly my goal. Is I want my grandchildren to enjoy life without the nation state as a concept, and if I can work towards that goal, then great. I'm always, whenever I have a rough day and it seems like we've had a bit of a loss or whatever, I tend to look back at the people a few decades ago, the people who came to the same conclusion, and we'll probably never know their names, whether they tried to speak out but had no platform before social media. The news was broadcast to them. The newspapers were printed to them. There was no capacity beyond the backyard barbecue to actually spread any kind of ideas. And there's a saying, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. And I wonder how many of them who came to the same conclusion as we've arrived at had no avenue to spread those ideas and had no hope for a future where anything was different. I think every day now we get some new glimmer of hope, whether it's seasteading, whether it's crypto, whether it's a new blockchain project, whether it's Elon putting satellites up in the sky that talk to each other. You know, a lot of people have said, well, if the Aussie government doesn't come to the party with free internet, like with, you know, unrestricted internet, not free cash wise, but unrestricted internet, then that's fine, because we can just have a satellite dish on the roof that talks to Elon's satellites, and we have the internet, and just start ignoring the government out of existence. And so many different ways, so many different reasons for hope every day. And I think of the guys who we'll never know decades ago, who didn't have any of that, and they worked it out, and they lived the rest of their lives never knowing if anything would improve or it would just continue to get worse forever. So I think of those guys and whatever they did to spread the word, writing books and trying their best. And I think we have this massive opportunity now. Humanity has this massive opportunity to wake up from this sick superstition and actually have a bright future. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need more satellites in the sky.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
These guys are a bit further down the rabbit hole than I am.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
You know, like it's interesting, but like there's times where, like, you know, I go down these like rabbit holes and, like, you know, these thought experiments on the whole idea of like detaching from society. And you know, it's interesting because, like, I think that, like, people have always done this, right? You know, like if you get back into like Druidism and, you know, like the you know, like going back before modern society, you know, I would say, like, if anything, like to some extent, like modern society is in itself like a bit of a trap that kind of like leads us away from natural existence, right? Like, you know, it's weird, but like people that came before us, you know, like if they want to go full Walden, right? Like they, you know, they just want to like go build their log cabin in the woods and, you know, say F society, whatever. Like, it was probably easier when people were less connected, or people had, you know, like I think to some extent, like even shorter lifespans. You know, it just like makes you probably like live more in the moment. You know, I mean, like I'm like coming up on 40 now, and I feel like I'm finally, like, I know this is gonna sound kind of silly, but like I feel like I'm finally, like, you know, kind of like to that point where I'm feeling like an adult. You know, and I mean, like, I know it might sound silly, but like it's just it's weird, man. It feels like the way society's going, you know, especially like in the US, like most people, like they're still living with their parents until their 30s. Like, and some of them never leave home. You know, it's just like, it's crazy. Whenever I decided like I was just going to get out of the States and just start traveling, you know, it was like I feel like I learned a lot, you know, just like about life, about myself. And it makes, whenever you start taking the steps, it makes the things you want to do seem much more achievable, right? Like, if you're sitting at home all day and like not going out and, you know, trying to make things happen, it feels like everything is so much more insurmountable, right? And like I think to some extent that's something that like cripples our current society, right? It's like people just they're very complacent, you know, like life's very comfortable. There's not a lot of challenges, or if there are challenges, it's mostly related to money. You know, this kind of gets into the debt trap thing of, you know, I got to go work the 9 to 5 every day to keep paying for the stuff that, you know, like, do I really even want it or need it?
Yeah, just to impress people that aren't paying attention to me anyway. Bob?
Yeah, Matt. So status, basically. Buying things that you don't really want with money you don't really have to impress people you don't really like. Actually, on that, people you don't really like, but on status, Eco Instant mentioned recently, Clay, you've just recently bought 50 plots to get into Mavs 2.0.
Yeah, I've actually been wanting to get land. So funny story. Like I bought, oh, fuck. Like I had like 5 plots, and two of them were like $500 or $600 each, and I got like the other three for probably closer to like 200 or so. And like yeah, so I've had like these five plots that like I got them before they were claimed or whatever, and I've been wanting to like get more for whenever like the next phase of land starts. And now that Cryptomancer's on the job, I feel like land's coming along. So I wanted to go ahead and get 45 more. And I mean, compared to what I did pay for them, I mean, it's like they're like $13 a piece. It was kind of
Really?
hard
A
not to.
plot, $13.
Oh, yeah, and
Wow.
what I really wanted was I wanted to get a whole bunch of grain farms so that like I could just be like the guy selling everybody grain. But yeah, like so the grain plots are like up to like $20 now. Like I bought all the ones that were under 20, and then like I just got a bunch of stone and wood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's playing the game too, right? Like it's all a big game. It's not just which
Yeah.
cards you pick. It's what's my strategy going to be for plots, for land? Am I going to engage with that at all? Or am I going to watch the market for cards that are cheap now, but will make good rentals down the track? Like everybody's got different ways of playing this game. We picture this like, oh, I'm playing Splinterlands. Well, you're not actually playing unless you've just hit the battle button. It's like, no. It's all playing the game, understanding the ecosystem, making estimates, what's going to happen, what directions, where are we going to go, what's going to be popular, let's get in there quick. Like this Heloise auction is, the game theory behind that is just fantastic because guys are saying, well, there's 100, but what's demand like? And the first one, people care about mint numbers, and some people are going to push hard on a specific number that they really want, like, or not. Or is it just about you need to get one while they're still available? Is the tempo going to increase for all of this? Because there's actually 300 people who really want one, and as time goes by, it's going to get more and more desperate that you grab one of the one before the tail end. Or are there only 10 people who really want one, and they're fighting each other and bidding each other right up? And like the game theory on it is just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want one. Like, so whenever I decided to get the plots, I'll tell you, like, I was actually looking at a keep, and like, I had been looking at a keep because they had one for sale. Like, I think Moriarty has one for sale for like 800 or 850 or something like that. And I kept thinking, dude, like, I've been wanting to get a keep or like a castle for like the longest time, but like castles, like, I mean, like, apart from like Matt here, I mean, I don't know how many of us can swing the castles. You got your two chains, two castles over here. But yeah, like I was looking at that keep for like 800 something, and I was like about to get it, and I was like, man, like I could just get like 45 plots like cheaper. Like I could literally get to 50 plots cheaper than buying this one keep right now. And like that's whenever I started thinking about going for like the grain strategy, because I think there's probably like grain is pretty plentiful right now. Like there's also the argument to be made, maybe I should just buy $1,000 worth of freaking grain right now, because like I think there's going to be a serious grain shortage whenever like 1.75 kicks off, and like you've got such a vast majority of plots are going to be moving to stone and or wood and ore, whatever. I think a lot of those people are going to need to get grain, and that's why I was kind of like leaning in that direction. But then I saw like grain, like somebody else has clearly already thought of this before me, because like the grain plots are pumping. Like I don't know if you guys have noticed. Yeah.
No. Already.
And neither have I.
Yeah.
I haven't looked in a while.
Yeah, like I think I got four or five grain plots under $20. Like that's all that was left, and that was like two lakes. Like I think I got some bogs, but are bogs grain or like no swamps are the ones that are wood. So bogs are grain too. Yeah, so like I got like a couple of bogs and a couple of lakes to make grain.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it closely in a while. For me, it's about research. Like I'm stacking the research because I know that it's going to require keeps and castles down the track, which is going to be a stranglehold for pretty much everybody who doesn't have keeps and castles. So I figure if I start stockpiling it now, not only will I have sort of a big chunk of market share when it's actually being produced, but also I'll have a supply that I've prioritized. Obviously, you can't sell the research, but whatever can be made with research or requires research as a component can no doubt be sold. So that for me is a big. I think I'm around 2 million research now. I haven't checked in a while. Sorry, Bob, I cut you off.
Yeah, as I say, that's something I have to look into down the track, because at the moment I've got one plot doing SPS, one plot doing research, and the rest is all doing grain. But my grain plots at the moment, two of the three won't be able to produce grain when the next update comes through. So I'm going to have to look at rearranging that as well, and something I still haven't gotten around to doing. I need to set that up now, so I'm not all of a sudden, oh, geez, I'm grain short. I need to redistribute what I'm doing on each plot, but just haven't got around to it yet.
So, Matt, how much of your land is online now?
Yeah, I've just looked and I've just passed 2 million research points. How much of it? It's still not huge, man. It would be, I would have maybe, I haven't looked.
You've got, what, 2,000?
Not even 2%. Not even 2%. 2,100 roughly.
So you have 2,100 plots.
2,100 plots in total. So 2 full regions, and then the 100 are like chunks in various different regions. Not regions. What do you call them? Territories. So I tried
is your goal, like, you want to bring them all online yourself?
Well, you get diminishing returns with it, because if you have a legendary and epic plot, and then you have some really high PP like cards, like what I have, the old school gold foil alpha, and then you've got totems, epic totems, and the like. By the time you combine all of that together and put it on a plot, you're getting an insane amount of resources from that. And so to then say, well, I'm going to get some Chaos Legion cards and combine them and put them on a regular plot with no totem, it's gonna be like I could spend a week setting all of those up and still only improve my production by 1 or 2%. But because it's the law of diminishing returns, right? There's almost no point in doing all of this and tying up that DEC in that, when the same DEC is
driven further by the older cards.
Well, yeah, and I'm sort of spending DEC on other things, and it's like I could bring a plot online, but it's going to add 0.01% to my production, right? And it's tying up another 50,000 DEC. So to another individual, it's like, yeah, that's my contribution, and that's the thing. But to me, it's almost like, to be honest, paying more attention to the plots and the production I do have, right, and making sure that I never let it go beyond like 5 days, because then things are full. Like, that's almost more productive for me, like making sure that I'm diving on things and rather than bringing more plots online, because they're really like, yeah, it's a heap, but if I could bring them all online, then great. Yep, that's good fun. But the best ones are already up and running, and I think to try and get the cards that it would take to actually, yeah, you get what I'm saying. It's still only around 2%. So I can see down the track as the game gets more. I haven't really thought about my strategy. I kind of feel like I want to sell maybe some plots here and there, just because I grabbed chunks in other territories because I wasn't sure the way the game would work with transport and the like. So I kind of want to have a presence everywhere, but I'm starting to think maybe I'll just focus on my 2 regions and just flog off those other 100 plots at some point. It's funny because, like, you're talking about getting a keep, but keeps aren't keeps, right? There's a keep in a really busy tract with a lot going on, and then you're collecting taxes on it, and then there's, like, my keeps are basically just sitting there fallow because I would need to build up all of the plots around them to have there be enough tax to be worth pursuing. So yeah, I don't know. It's part of me feels like I should sit down and just spend a week throwing every card I have and every DC I can put my hands on into land to try and squeeze another 5%, 6-7% out of it. But it's like, let's just sit tight and see what happens.
Yeah, like one thing that I was going to say, like I think I've seen. It seems like maybe some people have started to where they're just like selling off like their naturals, like their commons and naturals and stuff. Especially people with like regions, because they more or less just want people, giving them the taxes. So it's like instead of bringing them online themselves, like they're selling them to people that they like, like work out deals with. Like I'll sell you these plots if you bring them online, because they know that they're going to make up more value off like just taxing them in the long run.
It's like
So,
someone who owns a house who rents out rooms.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you know that there's somebody that like has the cards like waiting and like has the deck waiting to like bring them online, like it would probably be more beneficial for you to sell a bunch of plots you're like unlikely to activate for like even like $10 each, and then just like have people bring them online, because it's still making you money being like the lord of the region or whatever,
Yeah, but I think if it's that accessible, then those people would just buy those plots, I guess. Yeah. I kind of feel like I'd be losing. I like having all of the plots in that region. I like knowing that. And I know land rental doesn't appear to be a thing, but once you sell it, then getting it back can be really, really difficult if you start regretting that. Cryptomancer and I did a two plot swap from one of his regions to one of my regions, and we swapped just 2 plots because he wanted a Death Legendary plot. So yeah, we just did a swap, but I still look at that and think, those 2 plots there, I really want my region to be all me, And it's not that I don't like Cryptomancer.
Even if it's unmanageable, is it possible that they will never all come online?
Yes,
do you have too
absolutely
much?
Possible.
Yeah,
it's absolutely possible. So I'm stuck there. I don't want to sell them off and lose access to them permanently. I don't know where the game's going to go. My opportunity cost I still put as very, very low, because it didn't cost me that much to buy these 2 regions. People are like, gee, but right place, right time, right? I'm buying deck for 30 cents in the 1,000. Got in on the early draws rolls when the land first came out. They paid me back over and over again. So I'm not like, how can I squeeze every inch of value out of this land? I'm more thinking, how do I best position myself so down the track, if you have an entire region all to yourself, there's problems that you don't have to face that other people do. There might be tax revolts or some other civil unrest that comes along. For the sake of selling, say, a few $100, $10 plots to then also get tax off it, I kind of feel like I like having my own, like your barbed wire.
I think I know what you're saying, man.
You want the tax to come back
You're
in
saying
circle.
we need a proposal. Well, we need a proposal to get rid of land tax. That's what you're saying.
No, I own too many keeps and castles for that.
Proles rise up.
Yeah. It is funny that all us libertarians and anarchists build this video game, and the first thing we do is put taxes in it. Funny.
Yeah. Oh, dude, like I am probably one of the most anti-establishment people in the ecosystem, and look what I do for a living. Like, dude, the irony is not lost on me.
F the system while using the same system.
I mean, dude, like as much as
it's different,
my life feels like it revolves around politics these days. Like, I mean, right now, like the Soul Keep situation that's going on, it's like, talk about politics, man. Like it's like it definitely feels like politics a lot of the time, and like it's hilarious to me because I mean, like at the fundamental level, like I don't, I feel like I've never given anyone the authority to have like any level of autonomy over me. Like it's just like I view myself as like my own autonomous being, and it's one of the things, like I said, like ultimately, like my long-term goal is like I want to be in a position to where I don't have to have any level of like reliance or dependence on the system. And I mean, it may take a while, but I mean, I think it's kind of like decentralization in my mind. It's like it's a spectrum, and it feels like just constantly like moving in that direction, right? Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
think we ultimately all have to know what works for us.
technology is freeing us. It really is. There was a piece on the ABC not that long ago about 3D printed firearms proliferating in Australia and how it's bad and bad, naughty, bad. And the solution to it was
Guns are
just
bad, okay.
we just we just need to not want this more. We need to really just really hope that this doesn't happen more. It's like the powerlessness is right there. There's this bleating sort of please no. Ironically, we have 15-year-old boys, if they ban social media, going, well, I may as well go to Gatalog.com. Did I say that out loud? Did I? May as well go to Gatalog.com. We just got banned on YouTube. And I'll just 3D print a firearm because I'm not allowed to go on TikTok, you know.
I'm from the U.S. You know, like in the U.S. you can just go down to the local, you know, the local servo and, you know, pick you one up. But, you know, as much as like I'm saying that sarcastically, like there are some states that are like literally just cash and carry. Like if you go to like North Dakota, for example, you can just like go into a gas station, like literally cash and carry a firearm like right out the door. Like they don't care. It's pretty wild, right? Like there are still some places in the U.S. that you don't have to deal with background checks or anything, and you know it's weird, man, because like I'm very much of the mindset that like guns aren't the problem, you know, and like I've never seen guns as the problem, you know, like it's like criminals are gonna criminal, right? Like you can make all these laws to say like, you know, nobody should have guns, you know, like nobody should have knives, right? Like look at the UK, they get rid of guns, now they're just stabbing each other, right? And get rid of the knives, what next? They're gonna be like scraping a damn spoon along like a piece of concrete to sharpen it. They're gonna be coming at you with the grapefruit spoon, you know. It's like I mean, you know, like
Toothbrush shanks, you know.
Just look in
yeah,
just
dude,
look at the
you know what's
prison
crazy?
system. It just gets more covert, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
love
like
to put up the stats.
But
They
even
love
one
to put up
thing,
the stats about we've armed mass shootings in Australia. They don't talk about mass murders though, because our nutcases will chain up a nursing home and burn it to the ground, and we go, oh well, just another Thursday. But it's not a shooting. They're not shooting deaths
as
though,
long as
so
no
that's
guns
fine.
are involved.
No guns are involved. It's,
And no
you know,
civilians with guns. No,
it's 80,
civilians
90-year-olds en masse burning alive in a nursing home. But no, they're not gun deaths. No, it's fine. It's good. We're look at how stupid
the
America
emus
is.
did it.
Yeah.
yeah. One thing
The
with the
emus.
whole gun control thing, though, I mean, going back to the Second Amendment and the reason why you can have guns, you know, to protect yourself from a tyrannical government. But when your tyrannical government has M1A1 tanks, F-18 jet fighters, drones, like
Oh, dude,
who
that
can
was one of my
afford one of those?
that was my favorite.
Yeah.
Like I think it was Biden. Biden was like he said something about like, you know, if you want to protect yourself against the U.S. government, you know, like you're gonna need a lot more than an AR, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
bruh, like do you remember Vietnam? Like you got a bunch of guys out in the rice paddies with freaking
Guerrilla.
AKs, and they fought you off. Like you don't think some guys with some ARs, dude, like it's just like it was like such a stupid statement. You know, it was like you're gonna need something a lot more than an AR-15, and I'm like, bruh. It's like I mean, like to me, like the whole question too is like you know, is the military really gonna start killing civilians? You know, I mean, like who do these people in the military sign up to serve, right? Like they're not signing up to serve politicians. They're signing up to protect the country that they're from. You know, like, that's one of the things. Like, I just always feel like there's so many like misconceptions when it comes to this stuff, right? And it's, I mean, like it sucks, right? Like, there's always like shitty people that do shitty things, and you know, when it comes to government, I feel like a lot of times it's problem, reaction, solution, right? Like, you know, again, like getting into the rabbit holes, but like it's very easy to create a problem to manufacture the solution that you wanted to force on people anyway, right? So it's like, you know, it sucks, but like if you're to the point where you're like blindly trusting the government, you know, I mean, I think you're gonna have a bad time, man. I mean, all you gotta do is look at the track record, right? Like we got the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, we got like forced sterilization of indigenous people. I mean, I think you guys got that one too, right? Like,
The
like
stolen
that's something they
generation.
did in the U.S.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like the shit, like dude, like the government used to drop nukes and just watch the fallout to figure out how fallout affects people. Like
Yeah.
that happened in Utah. They had like where the government was like spraying people with like toxic shit, and I think that one was in California. It's like, dude, like I don't want to go like too unhinged because I don't think everything the government does is bad, but I think if you're blindly trusting the government, like you're not paying attention. It's like,
Well, they're the biggest mafia around. Others who
yeah,
try to rival that get taken down, right? But they have the legal pass because they're the government. They have given themselves that title to trump over everyone else's organization. That's
who's going to
really
build the
what it
roads?
is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just cartels. But
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
don't know it. They go, oh, but it's the government. And that's the whole problem. People don't know what government is. If people knew what government was, we wouldn't have government. It just wouldn't. It would just cease to exist.
But keep believing, but try to keep people believing in that they need protection. They need this. Without you,
Yeah.
they can't do anything.
The only reason we need
Again-
governments is to protect us from other countries' governments, not the
To
But
people.
enforce
again, like,
to enforce
Again,
the imaginary lines too.
Yeah.
you think about it though. They had 15,000 hours of indoctrination when we were young, and yet all over the world, people are waking up to it, right? So we're winning, right? We are absolutely winning right now, and maybe that's just the Trump victory afterglow. Maybe it's looking forward to seeing Ross Ulbricht out and maybe Gary Gensler in or Fauci
Oh.
in. Like maybe it's that, but I just really feel this spirit of optimism that, okay, Australia's a joke, but the rest of the world, Argentina, El Salvador, like there's so much good stuff happening right now.
Dude, I really enjoyed Argentina, man. Like if I wouldn't have met my wife here, I'd have probably been back in Argentina. Man, it's
Yeah.
it's a freaking amazing. Like, have you guys ever been there?
No,
It's
I will
a
at some
beautiful
point
country, man.
while I'm over
Like
here.
like dude, the thing about the thing about freaking Argentina is it's almost like, especially if you go to like Buenos Aires, it feels almost like Europe in some extent, but like without all the problems that Europe has right now, right? I mean, dude, like you go to Argentina and I mean, it's crazy, dude. Like it feels almost like Europe if they didn't necessarily like keep up the maintenance. I don't know how else to put it. Like it's like it has like a little bit of like rundown stuff to it. Like I mean, I remember like I went to one of the beach towns. Like I got outside of Buenos Aires, and there was like this part where I'm walking on the sidewalk, and then like you just see like it's almost like the sidewalk's not loading. Like some bricks start missing, and then it just turns into grass. Yeah, I mean, like it felt like I was like the thought went through my head. It's like I went too far to like one of like the isolated servers of the simulation, and like the sidewalk's not loading it. Yeah, but no, man, like it's man, it's such a beautiful place. Like I'm out on the beach, right, and they have sea lions. Like, dude, I had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, I'm walking on the beach, and I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm like, oh man, like I thought like maybe like a dog died or something, because like they smell like rotting fish. And like I'm just walking on this like amazing, like this huge beach. Like dude, they have beaches there that like put Thailand to shame. They're just like so huge. And I'm walking on this like giant beach. It's like football fields of just like sand, right? And I see these like big brown things, and I'm like, oh crap, like I thought like a dog died or something. And then like I get close to it, and I'm like, oh fuck, like that's a living thing. Like that's a goddamn sea lion, dude. Like these things are huge.
Yeah.
And then like I'm walking further down the beach, and there's like hundreds of them. I'm like, dude, like I just like walked in the wrong neighborhood. Like I'm about to get eaten by sea lions. Like,
They're not too fast on the land, so that's one thing you got going
yeah,
for you.
yeah, man. But like, it's just crazy. It's like one of those things. Like this is something that like being from the U.S. Like it never even occurred to me that this was a thing. I'm just like I'm walking down the beach, and I'm like, what is that? So like I get closer, and I'm like, oh, well, this is dumb. Like I mean, it's like if you're like in Panama and you're like walking around and you start seeing like a big giant lizard, and you're like, huh, what's this big giant lizard doing? Oh, it's a saltwater crocodile. Maybe I shouldn't be playing with it. it's it's just kind of like it's one of those things that like really caught me off guard. But man, I'm telling you, like Argentina is a beautiful country. If you guys ever get the chance to go check it out, like yeah, maybe I'll convince the wife to go there. I tell her sometimes like she could probably like we used to joke about like I was going to take her to Mexico and just tell her to walk north because dealing with U.S. immigration is crazy. But like apparently if you just go to Mexico and walk north, it's all good. They'll give you like $10,000 too. So I was kind of like I was messing with her, telling her like I was going to send her to Mexico so that we could get her into the U.S. so she could meet my family, and yeah, man, dude, like, man, Argentina, dude, I'm telling you, like, I still think about that place. It's it's a beautiful country, man.
Yeah.
There's
Been
there's a
to
thing called birth tourism. I think I don't know if you're planning kids or what the go is there, but I know there's a girl, Shannon Michaela, who deliberately went to Costa Rica with her husband to have their baby there. So their baby would be a Costa Rican citizen. So if you're mucking around with all that citizenship stuff and you're planning a couple of kids, it might be worth, having one in Thailand, one in Argentina. I wouldn't have one in Australia, but you get the point.
That's what they
It's
do
crazy,
here, yeah.
dude. It's crazy because I've always wanted to go to Australia, and like now, like I feel like I'm so close to it, and I'm just like, dude, like I don't know if I can convince myself to go to Australia anymore, man. Like,
I can't
dude,
recommend it, to be honest, mate.
It's
like I
overhyped.
You and I we would sit on the couch and have a beer, and then I'd go, oh yeah, there's some hills, there's some kangaroos, and we'd
Yeah.
just sit here. Like there's anything fun. Oh, do you want to go down the range? No, we can't. No such thing. It's the fireworks. No, not happening.
hmm
It's just rules everywhere.
Do we want to shoot some guns? Oh, don't have my license
Yeah.
card. I don't have a gun. I don't even have a gun.
well, can I at least ride a kangaroo?
Well, you can you can walk up to them. I mean, where I
I want
am,
to
you
get I
can
want to get in the
literally.
pouch. I
Oh
want to
no,
get in the
I
pouch.
don't. You might have
Hey,
to
man.
fight a few of the alpha males to do
Dude,
such a thing.
those kangaroos are jacked, man. Like I saw a picture. Dude,
they're
it's crazy. It
ripped.
looks like that
Yeah,
bro like lifts. He's like what? I'm like,
yeah.
oh shit.
Solid muscle. You hit one of those in your car because the long distances between country towns, the speed limit is like 110 kilometers an hour, and you hit a kangaroo, your car's a write-off
Total,
unless
yeah.
you have a roo bar on the front, which people in country towns, people who do long distance trips, it's essential. It's a must-have. You've got to have a roo bar on the front of your car.
Bull bar,
Otherwise, your
yeah.
car's just a write-off. So
So guys, I gotta ask. Have you guys eaten kangaroo? Because like I didn't know you guys did this until recently.
tried
I've
it
tried
once.
once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had like venison? Like is it like something like that or what?
No,
It's
it's hot.
lean, not much fat.
Yeah, so
It's
like
really
venison, like deer is like very lean. Like because I never really thought about kangaroo as kind of like a deer, but like the more I look at them, I kind of like see some similarities.
It's very similar to deer. I have
Like
kangaroo quite often. My brother has it all the time, and yeah, I really like it. It's got a very gamey flavour, and like the guys said, very lean. There's no fat there.
so
Kanga
like over
bangers.
here, I'm like a pretty hardcore carnivore, right? And like over here, I finally found a place that imports steaks from New Zealand. Well, they have some from Australia too, but I,
The best
I,
beef in the world.
make it make sense to me. Why is Australia steak so expensive? Because like, dude, I don't get it. You guys got more cows than New Zealand, but like the New Zealand steaks are like half the price and they're just as good. Like,
the reason for
gotta be
that
tariffs.
is
The
the
government
land.
overreach.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
You gotta have like two government agents fondle the cow's balls before they. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously, it's regulation and all sorts, all the trade deals and all that. It's same with like the gas we have. We sell our gas and then we buy it back apparently. So
Oh,
how's that
no,
work,
that's
right?
Canada. Dude, Canada
Yeah.
has these big pipelines where they ship oil to the U.S. We refine it and then we sell it back to them.
That's right. For fine, exactly. Yeah, it's the same deal. It just sucks.
Yeah, Australian industry is all primary. We grow it, we dig it out of the ground, we sell it overseas. They make something, and then we buy the product back. So there's no real secondary industry in Australia. And the reason beef, especially Angus beef, which is grass fed, and that's the deal. If you want to eat beef, it should be grass fed rather than the grain fed. And if I show you a map of Australia, so as you can see, it's mostly desert, right? We've got these little green bits around the edge. And this brown area here in the southwest, which was wheat country, this brown area wasn't there 60 years ago. 60 years ago, this was all green. It's getting bigger and bigger. And even on the map where it shows you a big lake, if we jump to satellite image, it's just salt. The water disappeared a long time ago. Okay, there's a little bit of water up here, all right? But all of these rivers, all of these lakes, it's just salt. Land's drying out. And what does grow out there, so there's plenty of land. So if you're a farmer, you want to have a cattle ranch or something like that. Okay, this one. This is what grows in the Australian outback. And if a cow eats this, the cow will die. It's called saltbush. But sheep can eat it. Sheep and goats can eat this stuff, but cows can't. So while we've got such an abundance of land, if you want to have a huge big ranch or station or something, if you want to put cows on it, then you're going to have the expense of buying grain. And so that's the problem. If you want good quality
so New Zealand's
Angus
got all the
beef,
grass.
New Zealand's got all the grass. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Man, you know what I would do if I was like king of Australia or whatever? It's like I would set up, dude, I would set up some massive fucking solar plants out there in the outback. Like, do they do that? Like, I mean, it seems like, dude, like you guys would probably be able to like literally power the whole island with like a couple of big solar plants out there. And I mean, if there's nothing out there, I mean, other than Crocodile Dundee, right? Yeah.
Well, they probably wouldn't do it for the benefit of the people, but yeah, they'll probably do it for like underground installations. I don't know, all those sort of things that go on in the desert.
Like, I keep up like a little bit with Australia, like politics and news. Like, I used to follow Friendly Jordies a lot. And I like I said, like one of my best friends, like I talk to him pretty much weekly, and like usually, I just ask him like how's it going down under, and like he'll tell me if you guys are on fire or underwater, whatever the whatever plight
season it is.
But yeah, but like I remember like you guys have like, is it like oil drilling there where they're like fracking and like polluting like some of the water and stuff, and there's like a bunch of like fights going on over that. But yeah, man, like it's crazy. You'd think that like if only so much of the land is like actually like arable and stuff, like you'd be protecting it. Yeah.
Australia has some of the most natural like resources anywhere in the world. Natural gas, natural minerals, and all that. We got all that. So I wouldn't be surprised, but we don't really hear about it on that scale, right? They're not talking about that on the news because maybe there's hush money that these tycoons pay the media, or to shut up about it while they do what they do.
It's the big emus. I'm telling you, dude, like I'm pretty sure Australia actually, whenever you guys lost that war, I think the emus are actually like in charge, and like what happens is like they have like some human suits. Like in the U.S., like we have lizard people, but you guys have like emu people that like they dress up in like human
and they wear hats.
And they're like, yeah, yeah, they don't want you to see the feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you guys didn't know this whole time you've been working for the emus.
Yeah. That is the grand conspiracy, Claiborne. You've nailed it.
One thing with Western Australia, and the reason is like if you zoom in, looks like the surface of Mars. Assuming that Mars had a surface to begin with, but anyway, different story.
Oh, damn.
You look at places like this and you see all of these towns here. The only reason these places exist is because of mining. So like if I was to zoom in, for example, Like, this is just a barren wasteland, right? It's just not hospitable. There's no water anywhere. And you zoom in on this tiny little town, and here's got this little town. There's a football oval. There'll be
Oh,
of course,
wow.
got to have a police facility. Got to have the police to keep everyone safe. But it's just a little community with a shopping centre, a primary school, the basic essentials to support miners. These towns would not exist if it wasn't for mining. So the mining magnates in Western Australia have so much influence over the government. It's these mining companies are the real power, particularly in Western Australia with the state government. Gina Reinhardt, or also known as Jabba the Hutt, inherited her fortune from her father, Lang Hancock, and she was responsible for sacking Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. He wanted to impose a mining tax, so she flashed her purse out, and all of a sudden the Labor Party had a vote and they elected a new Prime Minister, because in Australia, the political system, we don't vote for a person, we vote for the party. And then the party elects the leader. So that party had an election, they selected a new leader, and the new leader, no, we don't need a mining tax. What do we need a mining tax for? So this is how much
Thailand,
power.
like, I'm kind of like learning that here. Like Thailand, Thailand is complicated. I'm not even gonna try to begin to pretend like I understand it, but like so they have like it's a monarchy, but like there's also like an elected government. But yeah, like it works like that because like they've replaced the prime minister I think twice since I've been here. Dude, like I'll tell you, man, like one thing about these people here, dude, like they are very chill. Like they will literally have like a coup of the government, and like people just go on with like life as normal. They're like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't bother me. You know, it's like same shit, different day.
Highborn problems. Yeah. And on that, we'll wrap it up here because we're going to get cut off in about a minute by Zoom.
Not enough time.
I know, the time just flies. Anyone got any final words, any plugs, any alpha you want to drop, or anything before we get cut off?
So the last 2 minutes could be Splinterlands related. Go. It's all you.
Yeah.
You got the floor.
Fight.
That's the spirit. It's funny, Bob, you mentioned Kevin Rudd. He's our ambassador to the US at the moment.
Oh,
and
really?
He's wildly deleting all of the trash talking you said about Trump down the track.
Right.
It's hilarious. Yeah,
right.
Tune into that. It's great.
Okay, so thanks for joining us on 148. We'll be back next week with 149. Thanks for joining us. I'm Boba Fett. Peace out.